up, guys? This is Shane and Christian from Books and Brewskies. Glad you guys can tune in with us today. We're finally going to be talking about The Art of War by Sun Tzu. First off, though, we want to talk about kind of how we started this shindig, honestly. I'm here with Christian. We actually, last weekend, we're at Red Robin on Friday?
Yeah, it was Friday.
On Friday. And we were sitting there and we're having a beer. We're actually talking about like a whole different conversation. Then all of a sudden we kind of started getting deeper in our conversation. We sat there and said, you know what? Like, there's not many times that we have opportunity to talk as the boys. And it kind of brought up how we both played Division I football and was in the locker room. We kind of started talking about what was the best times we had in the past. What were good times that we had with football? And the biggest thing was locker room conversation. Just sitting with the guys and honestly talking with the boys and just shooting the shit. And that was awesome. And we had an idea of girls got their book club. They have their wine and books and everything like that. But as us guys, we don't have time to talk and have good conversations. Honestly, yeah, we'll have a beer. That's why now we took our brewskis and now we're sitting here with books, brewskis, and actually talking about it. But the biggest thing was, I feel like guys don't have opportunity to talk about, deeper things. So we finally sat down and said, you know what? Maybe we should make a book club. Maybe the guys should have a book club. The men should have a book club together. So we came up with this Books and Brewskies. We said, hey, we like to read some inspirational, motivational books, everything like that. Have some brewskis, sit down, and actually have good conversations. So, what was the beer that you had that night? I forgot.
I think we had Miller Lights.
Miller Lite.
Miller Lite was the call that night. And it really started out with that and kind of just grew from that point and was really just, the girls have their thing, why can't we have our own thing?
Yeah.
I mean, girls have been going to their book clubs. Who knows if they actually even read their books? But they've been going to their book clubs for however long.
I think they just drink their wine more and just kind of get drunk with their friends.
More or less. So, I mean, the big thing really is, we had our locker room. We have, our little group texts or our chats or whatever, our hangout with the boys nights. But we really don't have a motivational or really just a place where the boys can get together and the boys can just talk about whatever they want to talk about.
And self-improve. Honestly, we're at that point in life now that we're done with college. We're in our 20s. Everyone's kind of struggling in their 20s right now. I feel like we're at trying to find ourselves. We're trying to find what can we do in our life? Where can we go? Where's it going to lead us? Where's our path going to lead us? And I think this gives us an opportunity where a lot of people, we can talk about, hey, how do we manage our lives? How do we take these next steps? How do we improve the day-to-day routine to actually, take us to where we're going? And it's that fast-paced life. And this finally gives you time to, sit back and enjoy books that were written by, good people who honestly, who reads books anymore? We got the internet. We have, no one reads books.
I think the cool thing about this, too, is, we're going to be able to read a book. Not all of us reading books, right? I mean, the big thing is now we can actually kind of get together, have something a topic to talk about. We can just kind of wander off on that topic and explore it a little bit more. And like you said, we're all kind of lost where we're at, and that's a great thing because now all of us can come together and kind of grow together and, have a place to really focus in on what we all need to do, not only in our 20s, but as we get, through those 20s and beyond.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we can dive in a little bit in the...
Well, wait, we want to talk about what beer we're drinking first?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, we have a beer of the month we just made. It's called Snake Bite. Okay, that's a Guinness. And then what you got over there?
We got a Smith and Forge hard cider tonight.
Ooh, okay.
Some people like the Angry Orchard, the sweeter, but we decided to tame it back a little bit. Get a little something, a little more bland, but still sweet. Has that apple, nice little crisp to it.
I like it.
Right? And it's a damn good beer.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's a good mix of beer.
Hell yeah.
It could be called a cocktail.
I think we already had probably about 5 before we started. So, but that's all right. Now we're drinking more.
That's what you got to do.
Yeah. Now going back, so we decided to read, the biggest thing was The Art of War by Sun Tzu, kind of a little backstory about it is I was in college and I was in a sports psychology class, and my professor actually gave us this book. And I was super, like, I graduated with a psychology degree, and I was super focused on what's the mental side of sports. And that was kind of something I really wanted to dive into more. Like, it wasn't just the physical side. I love working out. We know that sports, that football, other sports, it takes a lot of that physical mentality. But a lot of people don't understand how mental and how important the mental side is to sports. So we brought this book with us, and our professor was actually a helicopter jumper, and he was a fireman, and he would jump out of helicopters and would have to get down on scenes and help the fires, everything like that. And he talked about how he had to mentally prepare for this, and how he knew that when he was jumping off this helicopter, he knew it was like do or die. And he basically had to choose, am I going to sit here and let myself die, or am I going to sit here and work out this fire, or am I going to work with my brothers and get this done? And that was a big situation that he brought up, is if I didn't physically, mentally prepare, then I knew I could die right there. And that was huge. So he showed us this book, so we read this book, and there's a lot of good management and leadership skills in this book, but it not only pertains to military, that's kind of what it's based off of, but it also pertains to life and pertains to sports and kind of how you mentally build yourself. So looking at this book, there's some excerpts I kind of took out of it, Christian took out, and there's some quotes that we took out, and we wanted to talk about some of them and how they pertain to life and kind of how they just pertain in sports and kind of life in general. One of the ones that I pulled, this kind of hit me the other day, was it says, plan for what is difficult while it is easy. Do what is great while it is small. This really hit me. So when I look at the first line, it says, plan for what is difficult while it is easy. I look at my day-to-day routine right now, and I say, what do I do in my day-to-day routine that is preventing or preparing me for the future? So I can go into boxing, right? So martial arts. Let's say I go into martial arts. I am doing something that is easy training, that I can get one-on-one training with someone, but I'm preparing myself for something that could happen if I was in a life and death situation. I'm literally preparing myself if I had to fight, and I had to fight for myself, or I had to fight for my family. I know at least I tried to prepare as much as I can to fight that battle. And a lot of people don't understand those little things that you do. Like, it's not that, oh, I just have fun going to box, I just have fun going to get a workout in. It's more than that. It's more into that side. And I don't know if you have anything of your daily routine that you can sit here and honestly say, what is something that as a hobby maybe, or something that you do that takes you to that like next level, that you're preparing for something that could possibly happen?
I think really going back to the first line of that, really just, plan for what is difficult. You really kind of can either take a situation and not be prepared for it. I mean, this goes into really anything, whether it be an interview, sports, a game, the weight room, a first date, whatever it is. Like, everything can be difficult, right? I think the biggest thing is if you plan for it and you prepare your mind and prepare your body and whatever it is you're like going into, if you really think about it and kind of set something in stone, I'm going to go through these 5 steps, whatever it may be. That's what's going to get you to that success point, so you actually go through that difficult situation and actually kick its ass. And I think really, like, for me, that's kind of the weight room. I mean, the weight room is a very big place to go. Like, the weight room's fucking hard. Like,
well, that's what I'm saying. So even when it says what is you're planning for something difficult while it is easy, the path isn't always easy.
No.
But I think how I take it when it's easy is I look at maybe the comfortability, though, like the comfort side of the easy.
Mm-hmm.
So like you're comfortable working out in a gym, even though the work is actually hard, but you're in a low-key comfort environment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So now it's like, if you take that side of the easy, it might not be easy doing the work, but you're still preparing for something that could honestly be a lot more difficult in this life. And you working out, it could be anything, diseases, it could be health risks, it could be fighting, same idea, like, or strength or something that you might have to do to save your family, save yourself.
Even, I think the hardest part about, like, what's difficult is actually stepping into the gym sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
You can wake up and be like, shit, I don't want to go to the gym today. You can't even, you know, sometimes you sit there and you're like, am I even prepared to go do this? Well, if you know what the end goal is, what your outcome you want it to be, then I think in that sense that's planning for something, because you're now planning to get to that end goal or whatever it may be, whether it's, you know, putting 5 plates on a bar and squatting it that day or whatever it may be, right? Yeah. I think that's where, you know, you can plan for that, but you have to be able to overcome that difficult shit. I actually have to step in the door today and actually attack the gym. Yeah,
exactly. It's taking that first step with it. And then even looking at the second part of the quote, it says, do what is great while it is small. That's hard. That's hard to like wrap your head around. Doing something great, and that can start with, like you said, the gym, or that can start with, like I said, martial art classes, or I'm taking vocal classes right now. That can start with something that I love, that is great to me, that I'm passionate for, but it's small. It's small. Like, it's small in the world, it's small to everyone else, but it is great value to me. And I think a lot of people don't understand that some people can have something that is so great to them, but is so small to everyone else. And that's hard to wrap their heads around. And I think that's why respecting people's hobbies and having your own thoughts and your own ways that you go about life is super important. Is why you don't want to shape everyone to be the same, is because something that is great value to you might not be great value to me, you know? And it could be something small to me, but it's great to you. And that's why this quote is just like, you take that whole piece of it and you say, if you sit there and you say, okay, I plan day-to-day routines that are great to me, that have great value to me, that are small to everyone else, but it is easy because it is in my comfort zone, but I am preparing for something difficult in life. That's like crazy to like wrap your head and mind around, to say that, hey, you pull this quote from a book and you put it into your life and you put it into your own words.
Why don't you talk about some time, like when you've had to actually, like, knowing this quote now and like really kind of like pondering over this quote now, talk about like a time like when you actually had to face this type of situation where you actually planned for something that was going to be difficult and you took the small steps to actually overcome that situation and actually get there.
Yeah, I mean, that's simple. Football was probably the biggest thing playing college football. You, day in and day out, you're in the gym, you're in the classroom, you're watching videos, you're watching film, you're going to practice, you're trying to make yourself better, and then you're preparing for the game. And then you realize that these things aren't easy, but they are great to me. But at the end of the day, if I don't get what I need to get done, when I have a difficult contest or I have a difficult enemy on the field, I can be embarrassed, I lose the battle or whatever it is. That's probably the biggest thing that I wish I would have took more seriously on it, of like understanding, if you don't prepare each set that you need for that game, if you don't prepare each, like, that's not only like the physical part, but like the mental side of it. Like, there was battles I lost, and I think if I did a little better of like learning from some of those losses and took them and shaped them a little more and like focused on like the little things that I really needed, I think I could have done better in the competition when it mattered, you know? But that's hard. It's hard when I think a lot of people struggle when they're at such a certain age where they don't feel like they're mature enough to like make those decisions. Now you're done after. It's like one of those things, like, you played football too in college. It's one of those things, like, looking back at football, if I would have known what I know now, you know, if I would have known what I know now, and then you go back, and I wish I could go back in time and have my brain now, I would have looked at it differently. But shoot, I mean, thinking of all the girls and but school and like the stress with school and the stress with like, I was a preferred walk on, I was trying to prove myself, like the stress of like being not as confident in myself because I had to try to work for that scholarship. Like, I was so stressed about some of those things that it made my performance weaken, but I knew I was better. And like, that's hard to kind of fathom that as you kind of get older and you're like, shoot, like there's nothing I regret, but dang, I wish I would have took more steps and more insight into the game that I could have sat here and said, okay, now I could have took a little different road with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, so that's just kind of a big piece of it. But what quote did you, I know you got a couple of quotes over there, but that one, I mean, that one hit me hard. That one hit me hard.
Yeah, I mean, I get why. I mean, that whole quote in itself is really just, you have to think about all the different like small steps you have to take to actually get to an outcome, whether it be with a job, whether it be, you know, an interview process to actually get to your end goal. Like, you have to know that it's going to be difficult in some situations, or, you know, football, for example, all those Monday through Fridays, those were small steps to get to Saturday. Those were your game days, right? I mean, fall camp, summer workouts, winter workouts, whatever it was, all those small steps actually get you where you want to go.
Yeah.
And if you don't take all those steps on like it's actually the game, you're you know, that whole part's difficult, but what the difficult part is actually getting to the game. So that whole process you're going through is getting to your outcome of actually playing on Saturdays.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, us being sports performance trainers also, if we have athletes that are younger now, I think that's something telling them and saying, look, like, it's easy to go through high school and just say, I don't need to prepare and do certain stuff like that. But I always try to tell my athletes, like, hey, you coming in, and if you only see me once a week, you need to be doing something the other 5 days, you know? And a lot of these kids, like, they try to skate by their talent and not their work ethic.
Well, they're not prepared to actually experience what they're going to experience when they step on their college campus. I mean, they've been, you know, one of the coaches that I was with in college, you know, all these athletes, and even like if you look at the NFL, all these players were, and really I guess any professional sport, they were the best at their elementary school or their youth league. They were the best in high school. They get to college, they're probably still like top of the top on their team. Then they get to the NFL and they're not playing with all the same level, right? Now, if you're not working to be one of those elite athletes that entire time from, you know, especially in high school, you know, if you're working with dudes around you and you're at their level, but your goal is to go to the NFL or the MLB or NBA, whatever it is, you need to be outworking them. And if you're outworking them, you need to work harder.
Yeah, exactly. And I think looking back at those high school days, that was something that was big to me, is those 5:45 a.m.s, those times that like you didn't want to do the last set, but you did the last set, right? I wasn't the biggest guy, I wasn't the fastest, everything like that, but those little things did add up, and that's that preparation. Those little things, day-to-day routines finally add up. And the nice thing is, once you hit that next goal, is you go from there and you realize, like, now that you're out of sports, everything that I did in sports, the work ethic that I had in sports, still relate to my life now. And that's like big, and a lot of people don't understand that. Is the work ethic that you have in sports, or the work ethic you just have in life in general, it's gonna stay with you. It's gonna stay with you. And if you build it at a young age and you prepare yourself at a young age, it's gonna help you get over these humps a lot faster. And if you don't, and let's say you make your mistakes in high school, everyone makes their mistakes, but let's say you kind of be lazy, you do all that stuff, eventually you're gonna have to make a stand, and it's gonna be a harder hill to go over, but you can do it. But I think if you start in saying, hey, if I prepare myself, if I can get in there and do my best day-to-day routines and really have a good work ethic, that's going to just help me later on in life, you know?
I think one of the bigger things on work ethic too is if you know, at least for me, for example, after I stopped playing, I feel like at a point I did lose a little bit of my work ethic
Oh,
But
yeah.
it's you're fighting with the battle of trying to
Find new things.
like
that
find
you
new
love,
things
almost.
to take over your life, because you go from playing sports from age 5 to 22,
you do that your whole
23.
life, and like you're
That's all you
preparing.
know.
Yeah, you're
And
prepared
then all of a
for
sudden
that.
you get out of that and it's like, holy shit, what do I do now? And so you lose a little of your work ethic, because I think you are trying to find yourself again. And once you find that deep down work ethic that you've had since you were born is still there. It's just a matter of now focusing that in on something else, whether it be the weight room, your job, your family, building houses, whatever you decide to do. That work ethic's there. You just have to find that passion that you find, and you have to like have that drive to go chase after whatever that dream that is.
Yeah, and that's what happens with a lot of athletes, is they struggle once they're done. Is like, what's my next passion? What's my next step? What's like my next preparation? And a lot of people are still struggling with that. I know guys who still struggle with that, and the biggest thing is make sure you are getting as much life experience and putting yourself in new situations. If you're not putting yourself in new situations, you're not going to find new passions, and that's huge. And I think a lot of people stay in their bubble and they say, hey, like, I'm just going to do my day to day, but I'm not going to find new opportunity and new things to do. And now, once you're done with sports, especially something that you spend your whole life on, find your new passions, find your new things. For me, I always knew I had, like, music was another piece of me. I always knew, like, working out was never for football for me. It was always for my health. So I know now, like, I work out, it's always for my health. And some people work out just for their sport. So it's like a passion. Like, what is your passion? Is one passion trying to lead into the other passion, or you just truly love doing that? And that's like the real thing. And I think at the end of the day, those are athletes' questions. Everything ends. There's an ending, there's a beginning and an end in everything. You need to make sure that you're prepared for the beginning and the end.
I had a coach in college say athletes die twice.
Yeah.
You die once in your first part of your life, because the life you were and the person you were is gone, and you have to find yourself again. And I think going back to that quote and talking about the comfort zone, like getting yourself into new situations, those little steps, you have to take little steps every day to get out of that comfort zone, to be able to find yourself in new situations, so you can build who you're going to become for the rest of your life after you're done with sports.
Yeah, exactly. Well, even looking at, I have another quote from the book. Even looking at this last one that I kind of wrote down was, it says, appear where they cannot go, head for where they least expect you, to travel 100 miles without fatigue, go over land where there are not people. Okay, so similarly, if you really think about that, what we were just talking about, it says appear where they cannot go. Okay, if you take this in your mind and you say, if I can go and take a new opportunity that I've never gone in my life, that maybe other people I don't even know have either done, like my friends maybe haven't done, but I'm gonna go take a chance on a new opportunity, especially after like sports, let's say, and I go take a chance on a new opportunity. Now, you look at that opportunity and you say, is this a place that is growth for me, or opportunity for me where I can win for myself and win for my life, you know? And it doesn't have to be for anyone else. It can just be where, like you're saying, appear where they cannot go. Now this could just be my place that I want to go, that's for me. And that's like my opportunity. That's my spot, you know, my piece, my place. And that's super important. If you can't find a piece, and if you can't find a spot and find something that gives you joy that other people can't understand, that's honestly super important in life. Whether that is meditation, whether that is just somewhere as your space, and that's where you go to, you know, think about, or that's where you go for other opportunities, or that's where you go to just heal yourself. Like, that is super important to have on your own. And I think a lot of people in this busy life don't have those places, and they let, like, every place that they've been, or every opportunity, they let other people be a part of it. But I think there always kind of needs to be a spot and a place where, like, it's your own. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think every person needs to find something they can win at every day. like little accomplishments. I mean, going off that really, having a accomplishment every single day, even if it's like, oh, I got out of bed my first alarm today. That's a pretty damn good win. So a lot of people hit the snooze button 10 times, right? And I think really just being able to get yourself to a point where you have a desire to go win the day every single day, and it becomes from those small wins lead to big wins, right? Yeah. So find your space that you are comfortable to go win in on your own without really having
the applause or the other people, like you said, like the other people. They're your own space.
Yeah. When you wake up in the morning, your alarm goes off. Like, you don't have 100,000 people in the stands cheering you on to get out of bed. Yeah, exactly. You don't have your coworkers there to be like, hey, get up. Like, no, it's on choice. You. Like, you have to get up. You have to get out of bed. Whatever it is. That's a small win. Yeah. Right. So I mean, little accomplishments like that, I think, lead to bigger accomplishments throughout the day. I mean, that's the first part of your day. Why not start off on a win?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then that's kind of even like the second part of the quote is like, to travel hundreds of miles without fatigue, go over land where there are not people. Like, take that super deep. Go over land where there are not people.
You have to be a trailblazer. Yeah. There's no path. You have to create your own path.
You have to create your own path. You have to choose opportunity where opportunity is not seen by other people. Where opportunity is only seen by us. It's almost like
take the step that no one else is willing to take.
Yeah, take the step that no one else is willing to take. And
get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, get out of your comfort zone. That's exactly what it's telling you. That's exactly what it's telling you. But a lot of people, like you said, don't want to take that first step. And a lot of people are scared.
No, because they're happy in their comfort zone. Yeah. They're happy where they're at. They're happy, oh, I'm gonna hit the snooze button 10 times. I can shower in 2 minutes and get out of my house in 10. Yeah, that's the easy get out. Cool. You lost. You're done for the day. Like, no, you need to go win the day. You don't need to be soft. You need to get up, get your ass out of bed, and go attack the day. Get out of your comfort zone. Take the step that nobody else is doing. You know, go do whatever it is. Go get in the gym. Go lose the 10 pounds you haven't been able to lose because you've been hitting the snooze button. You've been skipping the gym in the morning. Whatever it is, get your ass up, get your ass moving, and get a freaking win.
Yeah, and I mean that. People are scared of the unknown. Yeah, and 100%. That's that comfort zone. Is like, we love to be, everyone wants to know, oh, what's this? What's the answer? But if you don't take chances to get out of that unknown or get into that unknown, you're not going to grow. You're not going to find that new opportunity. And I think that's how I kind of perceive that quote is, travel without fatigue, go over land where there are not people, is like, get into the unknown, take the opportunity, take your chances. If you get hurt, you live and learn. If you succeed, you live and learn. But you have to take those chances in the unknown.
I think if you're failing, you're growing. Like, you have to have multiple fails to be able to take steps to grow, because 100%. Now you know, well, I failed. Okay, cool. Now I won't do it that way next time. Right? 100%. I'll change my way. Oh, I failed again. Go try it again. Right? I mean, you can apply that to anything. I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind, just because that's the most prominent thing in my life right now, is the weight room, right? Yeah. Boom, I missed a lift at 315. Yeah. I'm going to back it down to 310. Oh, missed that. I hit 305. Okay, let's go back to 310. Yeah. Hit that, 315. Boom. Yeah. Right? Those little steps, wherever you're at, that's a win. Whatever it may be. Oh, yeah. Right? Being able to grow in anything's a huge factor and accomplishment. That's a win. Factor. You know, I mean, you set one alarm in the morning instead of 6. That's a win. Because, you know, you missed your first 5. You failed 5 times. You got up on your 6th one.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Honestly, I mean, looking at taking those 2 quotes, and then if I break down this third one that I wrote down from the book, and it says, you talking about attacking the day and attacking certain battles, right? You have certain tasks that you need to be attacking. Well, this quote's talking about the wise warrior. This is what it says. The wise warrior avoids the battle. Okay? Avoid certain battles is super important, of knowing when do I choose to attack and when do I step back. And I think in this life, how like crazy it is with internet and social media and just life in general, pick and choose your battles. You hear that a lot, right? Like pick and choose. When are you going to be wise enough to let things go? When are you going to be wise enough to attack the certain opportunities, right? And I think a lot of people do struggle with that is they try to get into everyone else's business, or they try to get into opportunities that are probably typically not good for them, and they want to create this disruption. Instead of trying to be wise and understanding, like we just talked about before, preparing for something, preparing for an opportunity, and be wise about it, and then pick and choose your battle, and know when to choose the battle, and know where's your wins and losses. But even if you go into a battle and you say, hey, I could win or lose this, sometimes you have to take those, because failure is a part of that growth. But the biggest point of that saying, like the wise warrior avoids certain battles, is you gotta know where do I stand and where do I stay out of these arguments, where do I stay out of these situations.
I think there comes a point where you can get into any battle you want. Mm-hmm. I think you have to think a little bit deeper into it, where you can be focused on your outcome, right? That process that gets you to your outcome. Yeah. And thinking in the sense that, well, this, whatever this battle is I'm no longer growing. I'm no longer being served by it. It's no longer serving me to help grow my life. I think where you have to understand is, okay, maybe I need to step off this path and move to a different path that you feel is going to take you a little bit further. Yeah. Right? I think part of that is knowing when to step away from things, when to step into different situations, mm-hmm. and when to know what's right and what's wrong. And I think following your gut feeling in a lot of those things is pretty big. And I think for me, one of the things that I've learned, I guess over the last year or so, is trusting your gut feeling more than anything. You know, a lot of times, you know, as athletes, we're always taught to kind of just keep going no matter what. Yeah. Just because, you know, you go through fall camp or whatever it may be, or conditioning, and it's like, well, this sucks ass, but you have to do it because you have to do it. But now you're at a point in your life where you actually get to choose. Now you don't have someone yet. You don't have somebody pushing you or telling you that's not the right steps. That's not the right throw to make. That's not the right ball to swing at. Like, no, now you have to make these decisions on your own. Yeah. You have to understand and follow your gut feeling and know when to step away from things and when to move to something else that's going to serve you better. Whether that be, you know, starting your own thing, whether that be, you know, jumping from one job to the next, whatever you got to do to help yourself and your mind be at ease, but still being able to like attack something and like go win at something. Mm-hmm. Because if you feel like you're getting a loss after loss after loss, that takes a toll on your mental stability. Oh yeah. And that's where I feel like a lot of our society, and especially like us as guys, because we've always been told to not talk about our shit, right? Exactly. I think that's where
the ladies got
that's where we got to be.
They're supposed to be the more emotional, but we don't have that opportunity. I feel like we don't want to choose that opportunity to be able to talk about our feelings and talk about our choices. Yeah. And I think us being athletes, like you were saying with like the coaching situation, is we were always told this and that and everything like that. Now you have the opportunity and freedom. Like, you're not being told. You have to make those choices on your own. And that is big, trusting your instincts now and trusting your gut feeling in your heart to make these new opportunities, to make these new choices. And now us talking about being able to talk about, you know, knowing that society, there's faults in society. And I can look at a lot of, like, we talk about good and bad coaches, and I can look about a lot of faults in society. Us being sports performance coaches now, like,
we're still in those
we're still helping those kids, but how important we see that helping those kids, us being a good mentor to these kids, and like almost telling these athletes that society has so many expectations and all these kind of negative or false sayings about men or women and stuff like that. And being honest with like these athletes and telling them true things about life, and not just like, hey, life's not just about sports, but like also telling them like, hey, it's okay, like especially with the male athletes, it's okay, you can talk to me about life if you're having issues, you know, like there's a lot that plays into this life that we're able to affect these lives and say, hey, this is what society says, this is what I'm telling you is wrong, and this is what we've seen from our experiences. And that's super important to us as coaches, is being able to like tell them like and lead them and say, hey, if you I don't know how many sessions you've had, but that I've had, that I've just sat literally with the athlete and like talked to them for like the whole hour, and it wasn't even a training session, but it was just emotional, telling them about their telling me about their feelings, them telling me about like what's going on in their life with school, relationships, everything like that. Like, that's a natural human reaction, and it's okay to like say that. So it's okay, men out there to be able to talk about your feelings. Now, I don't say be,
athletes in
don't
general,
be a baby.
Yeah, no, I think everybody in general, athletes, former athletes, people that are in band, whatever you're into, I think you need to have a mentor. Hey, you know what? You play the guitar now. It's fine. No, I'm saying like I think everybody needs a person to.
An athlete,
right? No, I think everybody needs a person to, or even like multiple people to be able to sit down and kind of let your feelings and vent out, because there's times where if you let yourself bottle up too much, then it gets, and you're trying to handle everything else that's going on around you plus what's in your head. There's a lot of shit you got to deal with, and that's tough. I mean, to overcome that on your own, overcome that on your own, that's hard in itself. But if you have other people you can lean on, that's going to be even bigger for you, because you may be able to find somebody that's gone through something like what you're going through, whether it be exactly the same or a little bit off or a little bit different, but that person's going to be able to give you some insight, and I think whether that person's older than you, the same age than you, as you, it doesn't really matter. I think as long as you have an outlet, or like a friend, or like a group of friends, or a group of dudes or girls, whatever it may be, I think having that outlet's always huge. And I think being able to find a hobby that you can kind of use as an outlet as well. When you have,
exactly. Finding that
maybe you have stuff going on and it's not even in your head.
That place to go.
Yeah, and if you can have a place to go and get a win, that boosts your confidence just a little bit that much more.
Oh yeah, exactly. That mental health is super important and a part of society, whether we want to say it or not. But everyone's all focused on. I mean, we talk about the weight room and like that physical aspect, but like the mental side of things, and the mental strength that we have to have in the society, and mental health in general is super important, and I think the effect that we have on these people, the effect that you can find your own hobbies, is super important. That you got to have those outlets, you got to have those times that you can go clear your head. I mean, I had one of my best friends in high school committed suicide from, we don't know, some type of mental stress. And looking back at that, it's one of those things that you sit there and you say, if you would have known, similar to what we were saying with college, if I would have known now, if I would have known what I know now back then, would things be different? And I think knowing that the effect that humans have on other humans, and the effect that like we can help find outlets, and we can help find opportunities and skills and management and leadership, all of that ties into one another. That sooner or later, almost you cross paths with a ton of people. It's a social world out there. You're going to cross paths with a ton of people. And if we give that mental side of things, and if we all focus on that mental outlets like you're talking about, and those ways that we can find new opportunities and hobbies, we're going to create a better world. And that's kind of what these books, we're sitting here and drinking, and we're having some brewskis, and we're reading about these books, but we're sitting here and we're improving not only ourselves, but trying to sit and tell society that it's okay to find outlets, or to be emotional, and to find, if you're not in a mental healthy state of mind, reach out and say something. And this is giving you opportunity to understand what we're trying to achieve here and give you guys that. So, I mean, a ton of these books, there's just so many good literature and so many good stuff that we can pull from, that you know, the more you learn, the more you get better, honestly, you know. So
I think going back to the mental health thing, I think our society is so different now than when we grew up. We're like,
oh yeah,
you know, and we're not like super
technology
old,
advancement keeps growing.
All these younger kids that we work with, everybody our
Snapchat.
age, everybody, like, you have social media, and it's very easy for people to make it look and seem like they have the greatest life in the world, when behind the scenes they could have the shittiest life ever.
Yeah.
And that could be taking a toll on themselves, and they could be putting more stuff out to make it seem like they're okay, because they don't want their friends, they don't want their boys to know that, you know, shit's not okay.
Yeah.
And this goes to girls too. I mean, there's a whole. It's everybody. I mean, you could be 50 years old and be throwing everything up on Facebook that you have the best life in the world, but you're not good.
Deep down, you're crying.
And I think we as friends, whether you're 12, 16, 18, 25, 30, or older, like, you got to be able to understand that not everybody's life is what it is on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. Like, you got to check on your friends and make sure they're good behind the scenes, because everybody needs to have that person that checks in on them every once in a while. And I think the big thing is you have to be willing to have that person to
help you out.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be
a mentor,
and you have to have a person to open
outlet,
up to.
Yeah, outlet.
Yeah. I think a lot more, like, especially in the high school world, like, here up where I'm at, I mean, there's been multiple issues with high school kids, whether they're committing suicide or even like, you know, that whole situation. I think the biggest thing is nobody really knows what's going on, because everybody's like, we don't know where it came from. So, well, they looked fine on the surface, but were they actually fine?
Were they actually fine?
And that's
the hard part about our society, is trying to how do you find that? But you saying that, the more that we've grown up and the more that we've learned and I've learned, you can start to spot things easier, right? You can start to read through the bull crap. You know, you can start to read through the Instagrams and the social medias, and you can start to read through, like, the interactions that you have, and then you start to understand more about people, and you start to understand what is really going on, or this guy or this girl's faking like that, you know? Or you have your assumptions.
I think they're
not faking, but
calling out for help.
They're calling out for help in a different way, right? And, like, I think the more life experience you have with it, and the more you keep learning, the more you can spot those things. And the more you have those assumptions, right? They might not always be right, but the more you might ask and say, hey, is everything okay? Or, hey, like, why are you doing this? Or whatever it is, you know? And I think that's big, to have that knowledge to be able to spot what you need to spot, right? And that's huge. And us as coaches, that's a big thing.
I think even as former athletes or as friends, whatever.
As anything, a father.
I mean, I know at 16 I had friends that were a lot older than me. Like, you have to be able to lean into people that have been through your situations. I mean,
exactly.
You know, I was like, the people that coached me, I was friends with them as well, right? And you lean into them, you lean into your parents, you lean into whatever. You have those people you kind of lean into, whether you're afraid to talk to your parents about what's going on. Yeah. I guarantee you, almost everybody feels they have somebody else they can kind of lean into.
Oh yeah.
Right, and if you know you're one of those people that can affect somebody in some way, like, you should lift them up and kind of make sure your dudes are good.
Yeah. Oh no, that's super important with that. But what quotes you got from?
So I got a few. My first one, and this is, I guess, applies to many things, and really the focus on this one is you have to think about, like, what you do before you do. You don't want to make rash decisions, right? So this quote: ponder and deliberate before you make a move, right? Mm-hmm. You don't want to make a move off emotion, right? Because if you make a move off emotion, everybody would be going all sorts of crazy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, all the damn time, right? You want to take some time to really sit back, think about what you're going to make that move on, whether it be, should I throw an extra plate on the bar? Should I go on this date with this girl? Should I go,
anything.
you know,
Should I make this move? Should I
whatever it is,
make
right?
this job switch? Yeah.
But then again, sometimes
Make
you just
this
gotta go
investment.
for it. If you sit on it and you ponder on it for days and days and days, it's like there's a reason it's still in your head. Because if it wasn't something real, then it wouldn't be in your mind a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 months later.
Yeah. There's almost like a rational, like you said, you have an instinct, and then you have like the devil and angel on your shoulder telling you different things, right? Like you don't want to overthink, but you want to make sure that your rational thoughts are not based on emotion, like you said, that you have rational thoughts towards this thing that you're about to do, or towards this achievement that you're about to do, or this switch or whatever. Like you want a rationale. And now I think a part of that rationale, you talking about you pondering deliberate before you make the move, sometimes a lot of that for me is also based on other people chiming in.
Mm-hmm.
I think taking other people's advice and knowing how much advice to take is super important, right? It's like there's decisions that you will make that are all based on your decisions, but the more that you can learn from other people and say, hey, what do you think about this? Or, hey, what are your thoughts? The more you can get those people in your thought process, the more you can actually make more of a rational decision, I believe. Because I think a lot of times, like, you might be looking at it a different way. However you grew up or however you kind of went about this, you might look at it a different way. Someone else might look at it a different way. Your friends, your family might look at it a different way and say, hey, okay, weigh out these means and then go from there. So that goes back to the same in the quotes. Sun Tzu does really well of like reiterating the preparation. The more I keep thinking about it, he so much preparation. It's that mental preparation. If you want to be good management, good leadership, if you want to have those skills, your preparation has to be spot on. Sometimes you got to throw yourself in the fire, but if you throw yourself in the fire and you're prepared for the fire, maybe you won't burn as much. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's super important.
I think going back to the quote specifically and what you talked about, gaining advice from other people, I think there comes a point when it becomes too much though, right?
Yeah.
Because now you have 15 voices in your
No,
head.
you're right.
Half of them are telling you go for it, half of them are telling you not to, and now your mind and your heart are pulling you in two different directions.
I mean, you gotta find your circle, right?
Yeah.
Like that's super important.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about, like what's your close circle? Like who are you gonna take more advice from? Who are you gonna take less advice from? Kind of like.
And you gotta be aware of the people that are kind of like, you should go for it because now we're out to get your ass.
Yeah, exactly.
We want to see you fail, but then you gotta know that you have the people that are there to watch you grow,
actually help you,
actually there to help you and want to see you succeed, because in this world there's people that would rather see you fail because it helps them lift themselves up.
Yeah. No, I mean that's true. There's negative aspects out there and other entities that would rather let you watch you fail than succeed. But you put yourself around those good people, you put yourself in those good situations, now you are in a better spot to take advice from rational people instead of irrational thoughts.
So I think leading off that, you're talking about personal circle, right? So my next quote, treat your men as you would your own beloved sons, and they will follow you into the deepest valley. Think about that one for a second, right? Your circle, right? If you were trying to build a badass group of dudes, and you guys are trying... Shit rolls downhill, and you're about to go into battle with a bunch of dudes, and you're the leader of that group, right? Would you treat them like shit, or would you treat them as like your best friend, as your brother, as your son, as your dog, whatever it is, right? Because you want their ass next to you when you're going into battle. Whether that be, a job situation, you can relate this back to football, right? You work your ass off for 6 months, 8 months out of the year to go play for 4 months, right? You sweat your ass off at 5 a.m. every morning through winter conditioning. You have summer workouts, same damn thing, but it's at 6 a.m. so you get an extra hour of sleep. Kind of nice, right? But at the same time, same dude's next to you. Your position group's your personal circle, whatever it is. Outside of that, that's still your team, right? Would you go into battle every single day with those dudes? Right? So you got to think about, you want to treat the people in your group the same way you'd want them to treat you for one.
Oh yeah.
But you have to treat them like family, your brothers, whatever it is, because you want to have that person that's going to go into that fight with you.
Yeah, and that leads right into same with businesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're the boss. If you're the boss and you own the company, and you don't treat your employees the way that, like family, and you don't treat them with respect, and you don't hear their thoughts, you're gonna everything rolls downhill.
Yeah.
You're gonna lose the war. The leaders, the one who can control the group more, have to have a better say in what's the true hearts and positions of the people around me. And if they don't understand that and they're stubborn in their own ways, you're gonna lose, right? And I think even going back, like you said, with football also, same with the coaching position, right? It goes to the coaches, to the position, goes head coach, to the assistant coach, to the coordinators, to the position coaches, to the athletes, to the players. Like everything leads. If you screw yourself at the top, you're going to screw yourself at the bottom.
Yeah.
So working as a family and working together, that's super important.
I think on this one though too, as a family, right? Take it a step further. Take it out of your dudes, whatever it is. You're actually building a family, right? You don't want to go into a situation where you're dating somebody, whatever it is, right? You want that person next to you to be able to have that same thing. You want to treat them as your wife, whatever it is, to where you are literally going into battle with him every day and building whatever you want, kicking ass at whatever you want, right? You have to have that person, because then that bleeds down into your family, right? Because then everybody behind
your guys' foundation.
The foundation is built on whatever effort you put into and whatever, like, okay, we're going to go kick ass this together, right? It's the same situation as we've always had, just in a different aspect, right?
Yeah. And I think that was a conversation that my sister and I had before about your parents. If you look at your parents, right, your parents' foundation has everything to do with how you also grow up. Your parents have a rocky foundation. You tend to sometimes have a rocky foundation. Do you find paths to make your foundation better? Yes. But same thing. You have a harder foundation, a better foundation up top. You have kids below. You have people who follow you. Those foundations are going to help, right? Even if the foundation starts rocky at top, the ones below can heal that foundation. I always believe that. You always have your path to make. You're dealt your hand. You get to choose what you get to do with your hand. But could society be better if we built better foundations on our new future relationships, new future families, everything like that? Yes. I think a lot of people don't find themselves in their relationship to build a good foundation, and then everything just rolls down from there, and then it crashes and burns, right? It's like a vicious cycle. We talk about poverty, right? Like people in poverty or parents in poverty, they have kids, and then they grow up in poverty. They don't change the cycle, so they stay in that poverty cycle.
Yeah, because that's the cycle they've been stuck in there.
Exactly, and that's like that generational cycle. So right? I give so much props to people and parents and families that have a bad upbringing, and they change their life.
Yeah,
they change the way they go about life. And then the next kids, the next generation try to change their life from there. That's how we start to create a better society. That's how we start to take this in our hands and move into a forward direction.
Us as leaders, I don't know if we can call ourselves leaders because we're still learning, right? I mean, we're all learning. We have leaders above us. We can be leaders to the athletes we work with.
Yep.
I think even below that, I think people that have the ability to get young kids into sports is huge, because I think
into anything,
even if you have a rocky situation, look at half the dudes you played with in college. Half the dudes I played with in college, they came from very, very different backgrounds. Some were very shitty, some were very great, right? Those rocky backgrounds that some of them came from, guess what got them out of that? Athletics, sports, right? Yeah. And that sports, hobbies, now that group you're around, your coaches have huge impacts on you, because those coaches become parents to you in a way, because you spend so many hours with them a week, right? those people are going to have as great of an impact as your parents can have it on you, right? Almost sometimes greater because you're spending so much time with them.
Yeah, you're spending so much time.
And they're the ones that are going to teach you, okay, well, there's a speed bump in the road. We're going to run past it.
Yeah.
Right? You know, you just lost a championship game. Well, next year we got it, right? Now you work from December to August.
Yeah.
Or whatever your season is. I always attribute it back to football just because that was what I knew, right?
Yeah.
You know, you lose in the Final Four, whatever it is. Now you have that much time
camp,
to learn so much more, to work your ass off that much harder, and then you have instilled that work ethic into other people, into more people, and those people now are like, oh, I don't want to go back to that shitty life I was living in, because now I see what's available to me, what I want to grind for, and now I have a work ethic to actually get there. Then why wouldn't you go for that, right? And I think us as coaches, whether we're coaching football, coaching lacrosse, wherever we're at, you know, just in the gym, right?
Yeah.
And you can even look at like a personal trainer in this situation. You can look at somebody that comes into, you know, your general gym, right? That is 300 pounds, but you're training with somebody that looks like freaking Arnold or whoever, right? Yeah. That person looks up to that person. Okay, now you became a leader to that person, right? Are you gonna want to get to that point? And as a person that's coming into that gym or whatever it is at that point, who are you going to look for? Yeah. The person you want to get to, that body you want to get to, or the person that looks just like you? Who are you going to trust more in that situation? And that attributes like so many other situations, right? You want to see people that have gone through that experience and can teach you how to get there versus the people that are like, I can coach you, but I look the exact same, so how the hell am I going to get you there?
Talk the talk, but don't walk the walk, right? And that's the best. I mean, going even back to this book with the leadership skill of it is like, you walk the walk, people will follow you.
Yeah.
You know, like it's as simple as like if you put yourself in the fire, people will walk in the fire with you. And I think a lot of times in this life is everyone wants to be scared of the fire, then they want to throw other people in the fire. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because they want to see other people fail because then they feel like they're winning because they're watching somebody else fail.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, see, like you fail. They don't want to put themselves in those uncomfortable situations. They don't want to put themselves in the fire. Well, if you don't put yourself in the fire, you ain't going to become steel. You know what I'm saying? You ain't going to be able to come hard. You ain't going to be able to find that like hard.
So here's one of my favorite quotes, okay? And this is actually a Bible verse, okay?
Okay, Bible verse, here we go.
Proverbs 27.
We're reading the Bible too.
Proverbs 27:17. Iron sharpens iron as one man does to another, right? Yep. You want to put yourself around other people that are going to get you to where you want to go because they're going to help sharpen you, right? You will sharpen them as iron will sharpen iron, right? For me, you know, I had my very close friend group push me through some pretty hard situations. I had the gym. I think the gym's the iron, right? Boom, iron sharpens iron. My ass is in the gym every single day, sharpening my mind, sharpening my body. Yeah. But I got my boys here too at the same time. Okay, we got some shitty situations to deal with. Let's get through them together because I am not going to go through this by myself. I think that's one of those things where it's like, you have to associate yourself with people that have been through situations, or you can at least associate with to help get you through whatever shit you're dealing with.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the biggest, same thing. You put yourself around good people, you put yourself around hard people, you put yourself around people who've gone through it, then you know that you're not alone, right? Mm-hmm. And there are times, like, I think us as men, there's easy times that like, we got to do this by ourselves. We got to work my own ass off, do this and stuff like that. But honestly, I mean, why aren't you asking help from your friends at sometimes, you know? Why aren't you like saying, hey, what do you think about this? Why aren't you trying to do stuff together that will help build as a group, you know? And I think we get into that such of an independent society that we want to do everything on our own. But you put yourself around leaders, you put yourself in good management situations, you put yourself around good people, good friends, loyal friends. Now you build yourself up and you build your group up. And then eventually that group, you hope that at some point you guys make a bigger mark on this world. Yeah. And I think even us being here today, sitting here is like, you put this mark on these people and then you build something greater. Yeah. And you build a bigger society. You make it a bigger picture, right? I was talking about like, do, in that quote, do is great while it is small. Well, how about do something great and make it big? You know what I'm saying? Let's do something.
Turn those small things into
big things.
Each small step leads to a bigger step.
Into a bigger step, exactly.
Small wins lead to the big outcomes, the big wins, right? Every step through your off season leads you to that championship win at the end.
Exactly, and I think people got to find those steps. People got to take those next steps and figure out these great things that I'm doing. How do I make them on a bigger scale?
Yeah,
you know, and that's why we're here today, talking about that. So
it's good. It's good stuff, man.
Good stuff. But anyways, go ahead, join us next week on Books and Brewskies. We're going to be talking about a new book. We'll be getting a new book. We'll be starting the book of the month and a brewski of the month each month. So go ahead, sit down with us then. We're glad that you guys joined with us on our first podcast, and we will see you soon.
Hey, we'll have guests too. We'll have other coaches.
Oh yeah, we got new guests.
Other people we can find around. Anybody that we can really, lean into, learn from. We're gonna have them here.
Yeah, and also go ahead, read these books. Right, we send out the book of the month. Go ahead, read these books so you have something that you're improving on. Then you can sit down and ponder on these quotes and excerpts that we're taking from this book, and then go from there. Also, grab yourself a brewski. Have the same drink that we're having.
If you're 21.
If you're 21, we don't condone. We don't condone illegal drinking over here. I mean,
no underage drinking.
No underage drinking. Let's just say that, all right. But go ahead, grab yourself a brewski if you're old enough, and let's read about these books. Let's improve this society. Let's improve ourselves, and let's go from there. Remember,